Today we're talking about raising grateful, selfless kids in a self-centered world, a selfish world. It is possible. Let's get started. Please don't forget to subscribe for more videos on money minimalism and our travel journey. Hit the subscribe button below. We publish a new video every Friday. So even as adults, it's hard to remember to be thankful.
Thank you, Jesus!
We have all this stuff that we take for granted, and we realize we take it for granted, and then we can bring ourselves back and remember to be thankful and to be grateful, but it is a constant reminder. The point is, we could all use help in this area. It's not just our kids. And I also wanted to mention that if you haven't been keeping up with some of the latest research and studies, now in the Christian and in the secular world, the studies are starting to show that gratitude is one of the key factors in happiness. So that's just one more reason to teach our kids to be grateful. And in the military, we have a lot of suicide prevention training and a lot of different training for mental health. And being grateful and counting your blessings is often one of the first go-tos that they use to make people happier, to make people feel better, because it really does work and it really is important. So while gratitude isn't natural in children automatically, there are some ways to instill gratitude and instill the gratitude habit, and we're going to talk about those right now. Number one, start small. So gratitude doesn't mean taking an entire hour or 3 hours out of your day to stop and to be thankful for the things you have. It's not really practical. It usually starts with something smaller. So one way that I like to start it is with the dinner table habit. So we always, before we eat, we'll usually pray, and then everyone in the family says one thing they're grateful for. And it doesn't have to be at the dinner table. It could be the first thing they do when they get out of bed in the morning, they say one thing, or right before bed, before they go to sleep, they say one thing they're grateful for. It's just getting them in the habit of remembering to be grateful for things. And I wouldn't get too caught up in what they're grateful for, because I know with our kids, it could be anything from something really sweet, like I'm grateful for my mom and dad, and that's always really nice to hear, or it could be that they're grateful for food, or it could be that I'm grateful for candy, or my Leapster Explorer, or something like, or my toys, or something like that. And any of that's fine. It's just getting them in that gratitude habit. And maybe if you start to realize that they're always grateful for like material items or candy or something like that, you can start kind of pushing it in a direction to be more concerned with non-material things. But again, don't get too caught up on what they're grateful for. It's just that saying, the gratitude habit. And I would be surprised if your kids didn't enjoy this, because our kids really like it. They like to hear what we say, what my wife and I have to say. They like to hear what the other kids say. Sometimes the other kids are grateful for, one kid will be grateful for another kid, and that's always really sweet. So things like that do happen. Number two, be grateful. Like you personally, be grateful. I've said it before, more is caught than taught. Your kids see what you do more than they hear what you say. So it is important for you to practice gratitude and for them to see you practicing gratitude. Because if you're not grateful, your children are definitely not going to be grateful. There was actually a recent study that showed that our level of gratitude as the parents was one of the biggest impacts on our children's level of gratitude. And again, I think studies are just showing what we already know to be true, that actions speak louder than words. And ironically, there was another study that showed a lot of parents are basically frustrated with the lack of gratitude in their kids, yet studies have also shown that parents don't tend to practice gratitude that much. So we're frustrated at them for something that we don't even do a lot of the time. So just make sure you're actually practicing gratitude and they see you be thankful and you're appreciative of things vocally, around them. And then they can model that. They have something positive to model at that point. Number three, model contentment. A lack of gratitude usually stems from a lack of contentment. While complacency can be bad, contentment is actually healthy, and it's something that we kind of all strive for. When you're content, you appreciate where you are in life and what you have and the things that you have right now, instead of always wishing for something more, always wanting something more. So again, this is another area that we have to model. We model contentment so that our children model contentment. If you're constantly talking about wanting a nicer house or a nicer car or waiting for that next promotion or whatever the case, I did a video on happiness and it's talking about the future destination syndrome, I've heard it called, where you'll be happy when, I'll be happy when this happens. If you're always waiting on something else to be happy, then your kids are going to learn that happiness is always one more thing away. Because whenever you get there, if that's your mindset, odds are you're not going to be happy then. It's going to be another thing it's going to take something else to make you happy. So model contentment and teach your kids to be content, to appreciate the things they have right now, where they are today. Number four, this may seem a little out of place, but teach your children the importance of relationships. Colossians 3:15 says, "And let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. Gratitude is a huge part of Paul's teaching in the New Testament, and of course you'll find it throughout Jesus' teaching as well. Gratitude is often reflected in our relationships, and thankfulness is taught alongside our relationships. And studies show that relationships and gratitude are connected. Whether it's your relationship with God or your relationship especially with people around you, that like-minded relationship you have with others is really good for gratitude. And we can teach our kids about this through modeling healthy relationships, not only with you and your spouse, but with other married couples and other friends and family members, and having healthy relationships that you can model for your kids. And in general, materialism kills gratitude, but relationships and powerful, healthy relationships tend to kill materialism. It helps you to focus on the things that matter. So when your children value people and relationships with people more than they value the acquisition of things and material possessions, not only are they going to be happier, they're going to experience more gratitude. Number 5, show your kids true poverty. So you're going to seriously annoy your kids if you constantly say things like, you should be grateful for your food. There are kids in Africa who haven't eaten in days, and people are going hungry in the world, and that means you need to be thankful for your food. If they can't see it, it's going to be really hard for them to even know what you're talking about. And if they've never been around true poverty, they're not really going to be listening to what you're saying. And it's actually going to teach them to be annoyed at these very children that you're trying to get them to feel sympathy for. If you actually show them true poverty, then they'll start to listen to you whenever you're talking about this comparison. Not that you should constantly be telling your kids that they should be thankful for their food because people in other places haven't eaten. That's not necessarily helpful. But the point is, they can see true poverty and they can really understand how good they have it. And mission trips are great for this, but at the same time, you don't have to go on mission trips. You don't even have to leave the country to find true poverty. There's true poverty all throughout the United States, and there's true poverty in whichever country you're listening to this in, I'm sure. So show them the poverty, but also teach them to care for the poor, to care for the homeless, to care for these people, to develop a heart for these people. It's not about feeling sorry for people who are worse off than you and for people who are in these impoverished situations. It's just about simply caring for them and doing something to help them. So there is a line there, and you don't want your kids to feel guilty either for having things. You need to let them understand that it's okay that you have 3 meals a day or however many meals you eat when other people don't, but that's also part of the reason why we have to be grateful for the things we have, appreciate what we have, and help those who have less than we have. And oftentimes your children will feel so much sympathy that they'll actually want to do something about it, which kind of leads me to the last point. Number 6, instill a giving heart. So I kind of saved the best for last. If you can instill a giving heart in your children, and they can actually have a giving heart legitimately, then half the battle is already won. And God loves a cheerful giver, and He blesses the giver as much as He blesses the recipient. And when your child starts to become others-focused and others-minded, gratitude is going to follow naturally. And fortunately, there are several practical ways to actually teach your kids to be cheerful givers. Here are 4 good ways to do it. Number 1, involve your children in your giving. Show them how you give, whether it's to a church or a charity, and explain how happy it makes you, and show them that you are a cheerful giver. Number 2, take it easy on their giving. While it's important to teach your child to give, don't force it. State your case for why they should give, and let them make the final decision though. Number 3, give in more ways than one. Your child may love giving their time, but be a little reluctant to give their money, or vice versa. Teach them to be open to other forms of giving by focusing on the things that they enjoy. Don't force a specific style of giving. Cultivate the form that they enjoy, and it'll branch out to other forms. Number 4, go where they can see their giving. Volunteer at a soup kitchen or a homeless shelter, and take your child with you. They may just fall in love with giving and serving other people. So if you're a cheerful giver, your children are going to be cheerful givers. It just may require a little bit of guidance along the way. So if you're modeling selflessness and gratitude and thankfulness, your children are going to follow in your footsteps, but remember, you have to model it. Before you go, please subscribe to get more videos on money, minimalism, and our travel journey around the world. If you're interested in raising intentional children, there's an entire chapter about gratitude and giving in there. So check out my new book, Intentional Children. I'll link that below. That's all for today. I will see you next week.